and welcome. You're tuned into Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now. I'm Srishti Sharma. With me, as always, is Cheryl D'Souza. And viewers, this is the show where you get answers for all your stock-related queries. In a short while from now, we will open the floor to get your stock-related queries answered by our experts. And don't forget that today is Friday and we're going to be getting you Buy Now, Sell Now Pathshala as well. But before that, let's have a quick look what the markets are up to. So, Cheryl, quite many individual movers today, I would say rather, but because on the benchmark indices, we are not seeing much happening, though we are off the day's highest point.
Absolutely, and significantly off the day's highest point. Shrishti, a very good morning to you. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday.
And if you look at the markets, yes, subdued trading session coming in for the benchmark indices. Nifty Bank also has moved in tandem with the benchmark indices, given up all of its morning gains, but you have broader markets holding on to the positive territory. The advanced decline ratio, however, is skewed to the favors of the gainers a tad bit in the favor of gainers. I stand correct on that particular front. But you have the defensives that's ruling the chart, primarily the IT index. Most of the counters from the IT index are actually ruling the charts on the Nifty as well. So you have Tech Mahindra, top gainer on the Nifty as we speak, 8% uptick coming in for that one. LTI Mindtree seeing a 4% uptick. You have Wipro seeing a 3% uptick. HCL Tech seeing 1.5% uptick. Apart from that, you have DV's Lab that's seeing an uptick of about 3%. Bajaj Auto also seeing good uptick of about 2%. But on the flip side, Bajaj Finance reacting to its numbers down about 7%, and dragging along with Bajaj Finance is Bajaj Finserv, who will be reporting its numbers today. And you have Bajaj Finserv that's down 3%, IndusInd Bank that's down 1.6% on back of earnings. Nestle is taking a bit easy. JSW Steel, M&M are the other set of losers. Let's take a closer look at what the print is on the sectoral indices front. Is the IT index, needless to say, top sectoral gainer, along with oil and gas space holding on to good gains as of now. But on the flip side, you have the bank index that's taking it a bit easy, and that's actually the only sectoral indices that's in the negative territory, along with the PSU bank index. So that's the way how the markets are looking like at this point in time, Shrishti. But yes, but a lot of counters that are definitely moving in trade today on back of news. You also have Bajaj Finance, like I said, it's fallen in today's trading session on back of the profit growth concerns coming in. In fact, the stock has fallen most in about 16 months or so. Apart from that, which are the other counters that you're watching out for? You have Loris Labs that came out with their numbers also, isn't it? And the management spoke to us as well.
Well, yes, Cheryl, the management did speak to us, and actually no significant commentary has come in, and even the brokerages are not finding it positive. There are two factors to that, because the Loris Lab, what they have been promising in the past, they have not been able to deliver that much. Right. That is the first point. And second point, they have not given any clear-cut guidance in terms of the numbers for FY25. What they're making right now is that going ahead in FY25, the margins will be better in comparison to FY24. And all in all, if we see, though they are positive because their ARV business has done phenomenally well this time. Other than that, their API business is holding strong. But a lot of capex that is still underway for Loris Lab. The management believes that maybe in the next couple of years, where we can see good numbers to pan out in the times ahead. But another stock that we will be watching out for, Cheryl, is Maruti. The numbers due today, and since I track quarters, let me just give a quick highlight on the numbers that are expected. So good set of numbers expected, because on a YY as well as on a quarter-on-quarter basis, we have seen a double-digit volume growth for Maruti Suzuki. Their share of the SUVs in the portfolio has increased substantially on a year-on-year basis, and this time the key to watch will be the margins of the company. 13% is what we are expecting on the margin figure. So all eyes on Maruti Suzuki, because the stock is already near to its all-time high levels.
Absolutely. So yes, watching out for Maruti Suzuki, and no doubt why I had that giggle coming in from Shrishti when I wished her a happy Friday. Definitely is going to be a busy Friday for her as well, with Maruti Suzuki numbers to track. But yes, remember viewers, today is Friday, is Buy Now Sell Now Pathshala day, and Kunal no doubt is not joining us today from the studios. But nevertheless, Kunal, as promised, what's the Pathshala for the day today? What are you going to teach our viewers today? Something new?
Well, yes, absolutely, Cheryl. So, good morning to all of you. Today's topic, what we've taken is bullish flag patterns. If you remember, last week we were, discussing on the Pathshala the topic on bullish engulfing patterns. This time around, I've taken another bullish flag pattern, because this is now become a very prominent pattern for many stocks. So we'll be discussing few names over here. Two stocks where we've seen bullish flag pattern. So typically, what is a flag pattern? It's an indication of a first stage rally for stock prices. Post a first stage rally, the stocks get into a pause. The rally which happens in the first stage generally gets ensued with a higher degree of volumes for stock prices, and that generally earmarks the start of a fresh trend for the stock. Slowly, gradually, we see these stocks, inching up higher, breaking past about the previous resistances. So it's a matter of uptrend, consolidation, and then a breakout, which happens. This is a very strong indicator which we've seen across for many stocks, which are either heading towards a breakout or starts off a major uptrend for themselves after ending a major phase of consolidation. We'll take two examples over here. The first chart which we have is for Chambal Fertilizer, a very interesting chart, very interesting name. If you remember, I think just few weeks back, two weeks back, I highlighted the stock as a potential candidate of a bullish flag formation. The stock was almost at 375, 373 odd mark, and look how the stock has completed this classic bullish flag pattern. So it's completed almost a 6 months, 5 months of consolidation. Where the stock was stuck into a 10% band. Prior to that, if you see the start of the flag pattern, where from 280 levels, the stock has moved up higher to 325 odd mark. And now the stock has broken past about those levels, crossed even the 400 levels. I think today we saw the stock crossing about the levels of 420. So this is a classical case of a bullish flag formation, a start of a new trend, and end of a major correction for the stock. So I would believe that this is a very strong indicator where the stock starts to trend up higher, ends a phase of major consolidation. We've taken one more example over here for the stock, and the second example which we have is from an earlier stock, which is Titan, when the stock was almost at the 1500, 1600 odd mark. And as you can see that the stock staged two strong flag patterns in a period of almost 9 months or 10 months of price uptrend. From earlier stage when the stock in the month of May 2020 odd moved up higher from 1000 to 1100 mark. It was a very minor kind of a flag pattern. With minor, I call it because the stock at that point of time was just around the 1000 mark, and the range was almost a 10% flag pattern consolidation. And then when the stock moved on to that 1600, 1800 mark, the range of consolidation was almost 250, 300 points for Titan. And post that breakout, about that 1600 odd levels, the stock moved up higher to range of 1900 to 2000. So that's how the importance of bullish flag patterns is. As I said, that it's very much visible for so many mid caps and names which are making fresh breakouts for themselves this time around. So this becomes very important and a significant pattern for this time around from a short term trading play as well.
Right, for short-term trading as well as for the long-term, do look out for the bullish flag pattern. This is something new that we have learned today, and how to spot that. What are the factors that you should take note of? Kunal helped us explain all of that. So that was about Buy Now Sell Now Pathshala. But with this, viewers, it's time to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. As we come right back, it's time to take all your stock-related queries. So start writing to us. We'll be right back to take all of those.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now on ET Now, show where we get your answers for all of your stock-related queries. Remember, viewers, you can connect to us on the WhatsApp number that'll be flashing on your screen. Do remember, each time you write to us, mention your name, the stock that you're looking to invest in, mention that name as well. In case you're already invested in a stock, mention the the buy price, the quantity, as well as the time horizon. In that way, our experts will be able to help you better. And talking about the experts today, we have Kunal Bothra on the technicals, while today on the fundamental side, we have Sharmila Joshi joining us. A very good morning to you, Sharmila, as well as Kunal. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And let me begin asking you the queries that are already pouring in. And this one is coming in from Vivek, who's written to us. He's written to us about Adani Total Gas. He has about 100 shares of that particular counter, purchased at a level of 1056 rupees per share. He wants to know whether it makes sense to hold on to this one or look to exit. What's your take on this one, Sharmila? Adani Total Gas, what's your view, given the fact that now it's actually seeing a comeback after the fall that it had seen, and it was way off this buy price?
Yes, I think that's the concern really, that the deep fall that we saw, and very honestly, where this stock was concerned, the concern used to be largely on the valuation. So while these are all forward-looking businesses, and all that is fine, and going forward, you could see significant traction in them. What you do need to bear in mind that the valuation were a little out of sort of sync, and which is why you saw the correction that you did. So having said that, I would be really cautious. I think that but you could hold on to what you have, but do keep revisiting the stock and see that things are progressing according to what is expected or what the management has said is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, that's about Adani Total Gas. We're moving on to the next counter then. And the next query that I have is from Subramaniam from Chennai. And Kunal, he wants a short-term view on Sun TV. His buy price is 432. How do you see this counter? Because at least for today, all these media counters are seen to be buzzing. But how do you see the setup technically?
I think it's an excellent chart for Sun TV. The stock is coming back into its own after almost, I think, 2 months or 3 months of price correction, if I'm not wrong. I think from 730, the stock topped out in December 2023. From there, it fell down to as much as 560, 565. And now this is the first month where the stock is now trying to get into a recovery of sorts. So I believe that this could be a very strong bout of recovery for Sun TV. Since you bought at 400-ish odd mark, I believe you have a lot of cushion as well as buffer. I would suggest to hold on to holding on to the stock even at current levels, and I would probably believe that in the due course of the next few months or over the next couple of quarters, the stock should be able to scale past about the 730 plus mark, which should be at least the first nominal target which you can keep on the stock.
All right. The next one is coming in from Neha, and she's writing to us from Bangalore. This one's for you, Kunal, particularly. She wants a technical view and an approach for Vodafone Idea. She's saying that she was allotted shares in the FPO at the price of around 11 rupees per share. At what level should she look to book out profits in the short term? Her short term is up to 2 weeks, and a medium term is up to 6 months or so. So what's your take coming in for Vodafone Idea? And this ideally, let me open this query for all of our viewers who already hold Vodafone Idea or who have been allotted shares in Vodafone Idea in the FPO. What's your take, Kunal, coming in on Vodafone Idea?
See, there's a good part and there's a bad part about the chart. I'll first mention about the good part about the stock price. That so far the stock is trading about the 200-day moving average. Yes, it's showing signs that maybe a bottom formation could be at play for the stock. But I would believe that you can probably just continue to hold on since you bought at the FPO price of 11 approximately, and the stock is at 13 and a half mark. So, which means potentially from a short-term play, you could be looking at the last 3-day, 4-day swing high to be at play, which is around 14 and a half to 15 levels for Vodafone Idea. That's a good target for the stock over the very short-term time frame. The bad part about the chart or the tricky part about the stock is the stock coming into the FNO band time and again. That acts as an impediment to the stock price movement every time. So whenever there is a free-flowing uptrend, all of a sudden you see the stock coming into the FNO band, and there is a knee-jerk price action. The stock takes a pause immediately, and at times it also goes into a corrective phase. So that's the concern for Vodafone Idea in the very near term. So short term wise, I would maybe keep 14 and a half, 15 as a near term target range for Vodafone Idea. But the only concern is the stock coming into the FNO band time and again.
All right, moving on to the next one. And Sharmila, then this query is coming in from Suresh, and he wants a guidance on HUL, HAL, as well as Bharat Forge. At this point in time, and do you like any name out of these three where he can go and invest for the next 3 years rather?
All three stocks are good. It will depend on what kind of an horizon you have and what kind of a, like how you want to position yourself in the market. For instance, if you want to buy HUL, you must remember that currently the numbers are not looking good, and the expectation is that if we have a normal monsoon, and obviously, these are giants, so they will sort of move their portfolio around so that their volume growth, etc., gets back on track. So that's something that you would need to wait for, because FMCG is currently definitely a sector which is out of favor. Coming to both HAL, the story obviously playing out there was this whole make in India and the kind of defense orders that they've been getting, but the stock is overvalued. So I think that if you now expect to make returns in the stock, you need to give it patience. And of course, I think their order book continues to stay strong. The balance sheet is strong, so there are a lot of positives for the stock. But you need patience because the valuations seem a little high. And again, Bharat Forge, I think, currently we had like a spate of good reports and a lot of good news coming in for the stock from the US arm. And things looking upbeat for their business. So I think all three stocks are honestly stocks that you can invest at this point in time. It's just that your strategy and your investment horizon for all would need to be long, and you would need to have patience.
All right, this one is coming from Ranganath, who's writing to us from Bangalore. And for you, Shaheen, I beg your pardon, Sharmila, sorry, got the name confused because I just had a viewer ask a query to Shahina. But we have Sharmila Joshi on the show today. And Sharmila, Gopal Snacks, our viewer got this allotted and is in the IPO and is in the loss of about 20% or so. Should he sell or buy or hold more of this counter? What's your take coming in on Gopal Snacks then? Do you think it's a stock worth staying put with, or should the viewer switch out of this totally?
Well, I think ever since it sort of made its debut, this is not a stock that's done well. And even if you ask me in terms of valuations, it's not exactly cheap. So I think that's a sort of a common problem that you have across new IPOs where the pricing is done very aggressively. So once again, I think last quarter numbers also looked a little indifferent. So not great going. So if you want to sort of stay put, you would have to be very patient. Obviously, I think in a lot of IPOs, what happens is that the game is to sort of exit the stock if you have listing gains and or for listing gains. A lot of people put money in IPO for listing gains, and that does put a certain amount of pressure on the slightly smaller stocks for at least 2 or 3 months. So even after the kind of start that a stock like Vodafone Idea had yesterday, you can see that it's correcting today. So some amount of pressure does come in. Once uh, the listing comes and new shares come into the market. So honestly, I mean, if you have the patience, stay put. It's an okay stock, but it looks a little expensive.
All right, that's the take coming in on Gopal Snacks. But Kunal, the next query is coming from B. Bhuvaneshwari from Chennai. I guess she's writing to us for the first time. She wants an advice on two counters. First of all is on Lemon Tree. She has bought these shares at a price of 122 rupees. And she also has Nykaa from a price of 153 rupees. Wants to know the short-term target and whether she should continue holding these names.
See, I think I would recommend to continue holding on to both of these names. Lemon Tree, we've seen what has happened to the hotel space, hospitality space as such, and I think many of these stocks have confirmed fresh breakouts, lifetime breakouts for themselves. Lemon Tree, no exception. The stock has recovered remarkably well from the 2020 lows when the stock was almost at 17, 18 rupees. Currently perched just closer to the previous major swing high of, I think, around 144, 145 mark. So looks attractive. I would suggest a hold. Same is the case with Nykaa. Now I understand that the stock is plagued with a lot of news flows. There's been a lot of selling for the stock in the last few months. But I would believe that the stock is now at the verge of a major bottom formation process. The only concern is the time which could be taken for the stock price to try and get into a turnaround mode, because so far the volumes are a bit lackluster for Nykaa when the stock is going through a mild recovery. I believe hopefully if the stock scales past about the 200 mark pretty soon, there could be a very strong surge of volumes which may come by that could really accelerate the stock price movement. So would be bullish on both of the names, and I would recommend a strong hold on both of these stocks.
All right, this one is coming for V. Murli. This one is for you, Sharmila. And he has a couple of queries. Let me try and accommodate one at least in this. He wants to know at the current market price, which one is a better option to buy for the medium term of around 12 months or so? Abbott India, Bosch, 3M India, or all of them? Because he's saying all of them are 10 to 15% below their peaks, and they are very highly priced counters, isn't it? Abbott India, Bosch, as well as 3M, and let's not forget they're all MNCs.
All MNCs and all good companies and all highly priced, as he's saying. If I had to see, obviously, I think 3M is my favorite stock. I really don't know how they are doing at this point in time, but it has been my favorite stock for the longest time. So I think if I had to go with two, it would be 3M and Bosch. If it was one, it would be 3M, and if he wants all three, then all three, as he said, look good.
All right, that's the take on these counters. But Kunal, once again, a short-term query coming from Srinath, holding 1,000 shares of BEL, and his buy price is 230 rupees. This is the first query, and the other one is on BTL. Wants to know, is this a good price point to enter this counter afresh?
Well, I would suggest to maybe book out profits for BEL, because the stock is now getting into a very deep kind of an overbought territory on the monthly charts. So it could be possible that from a short-term play, you may see another 5%, 7% kind of a swing on the upside. But since your purchase price is at 230 levels, the stock is at 240, you have a very less cushion or margin, because in case if the stock sees a reversal, you could actually see the stock falling by a margin of 5 to 10% pretty quickly. So because the buffer is very less, I would recommend to book out profits on BEL, or at least if you just still consider want to hold on to the stock price, just trade your stop losses to the cost for BEL. Bharat Dynamics, I would suggest an avoid at current levels. Wait out for a point when the stock corrects. We've hardly seen any major correction in the stock in the last few weeks. Unless it comes back to that 1850, 1900 mark, I think you should just about wait out.
This one is coming from Kamal. He's writing to us from Pune. Kunal, once again for you, he wants your inputs on L&T Tech for 6 months. Is it a good price to buy? Given the fact that L&T Tech today is seeing a sharp knock on back of its earnings, what's your take coming on L&T Tech? Do you think that this is a good price to buy the stock and the charts are looking healthy going ahead?
See, the charts are, of course, going through a major correction. The stock has gone through third consecutive week of price correction from, I think, 5700, 5750 mark to 4700. So this is a very sharp adjustment to the stock price. We've seen historically that whenever such kind of sharp adjustment happens and the stock corrects by a margin of, say, 10, 20% in just a matter of few weeks, the stock first, goes into a patch of consolidation, and then post that consolidation is where the stock gradually moves up higher. So I would believe that you should not be in a hurry. If you still want to buy the stock, I would suggest use a strategy of buy on dips. So you can start maybe buying 50% at current levels because of today's sharp price action. Keep some powder dry in case if it corrects by say another 5% kind of a margin. Look to allocate further capital over there.
All right. The next query that I have, Sharmila, is coming in from Kashi Raj from Chennai, one of the viewers writing to us first time, holding more than 1100 shares of Aster DM from a price of 465 rupees. How do you see the future of the company is his query, and should he go ahead like holding this counter, or at this point in time, since he's at some losses, should he also add more at this point?
I think definitely not to add more, because I think that you could possibly, in terms of valuation, it looks a little expensive. So maybe if you were to get it at a slightly lower price, you could consider averaging. Uh, it's a fairly sort of I mean, I like the business that this company is in overall, but the performance of the stock itself hasn't been that great. But uh, there has been sort of news flow that if they separate their India and Gulf business, etc., going forward, things could look better for them. So if the investor has the patience to hold on for that to play out to the stock price, I think he can continue to hold.
All right, this one is coming in from Dilesh Joshi from Mumbai, and he wants to buy BSC and IEX for the long term. He wants to know whether it makes sense to buy these counters. Sharmila, BSC and IEX, do you think they make sense to be bought right now? BSC definitely had a spectacular run, and a lot of technical analysts of late, Kunal, I don't know if you agree to this as well. They believe that there is some more steam left in BSC going ahead. So do you think it makes sense, and now that she should look to buy, or he should look to buy BSC and IEX at this point in time, Sharmila?
Definitely yes for BSC, because as y'all were, I mean, overall, I think that if you look at the kind of growth that stock markets has seen, and the kind of investors that we're attracting, anything that is related, honestly, I wouldn't say just BSC, but you could look at almost any stock, in that space, in the sense that you could look at a CDSL, which is a depository, which is directly impacted by the growth that you see that equity markets are getting, or you could see some stock like an Angel One, which posted a brilliant set of numbers, and they repositioned themselves so brilliantly in this whole online game, or stocks like that. Anything that really plays to the move that we are seeing in equity markets and the kind of investors that we are attracting. Because all said and done, this is, I mean, this is something that we've discussed so many times, that given our population and the participation that you have in equity markets, it makes perfect sense to sort of invest in BSE. I would think the same logic applies to IEX. Unfortunately, there has been this stock has been hit really more because of regulatory issues, because the government does change its stance on what is happening with energy, and how it will affect power, etc. Which is why I think the stock has gone in a bit of a slump. But honestly, it was a story that I really liked, because the kind of products that they are thinking of, and energy exchange, that too also to my mind, given the context where we are in our development, it made a lot of sense. But as I said, I think there have been some regulatory issues there. So I would be a little bit cautious on that, but I would say a definite yes to BS.
Kunal, like I just mentioned, are you also one of those who's bullish on BSE on the charts?
Not at this price, Cheryl. So of course the stock has done reasonably well, but from 500 to now 3,000, 200 plus mark where the stock is trading right now, I think the buffer margin is now very shallow for the stock. So I would, of course, it's an excellent chart for someone who's holding on to the stock. I think it's a classical hold even at current levels, but to go for a fresh buy at current levels, the risk reward and the buffer is not there. So either wait out for a period of correction or a phase of a pause to try and enter the stock price, but not at current levels.
All right, that's the take coming in on BSC. But with this, viewers, it's time to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now, and let's keep it going with all your stock related queries. Then we have a lot of queries coming in from our viewers, and the next query that I have is on Godrej Agrovet. Kunal, Shashwati from Delhi wants to know a near-term view on this counter, holding 100 shares, and her buy price is 575 rupees.
So continue to hold on. Again, not an exciting chart as such, but then it's just that the stock has found a major bottom, major support closer to this 400, 420 odd mark in mid of 2023. I think from there, it's been more of a gradual recovery for the stock. It's still not been able to surpass the 2022 highs of 593 approximately, and the previous highs of 700 plus. So there are a lot of resistances to be cleared yet for the stock price. But just looking at the pace of recovery, the gradual uptrend, I believe sooner or later the stock will probably scale past about those levels. So would suggest a hold.
Coming from Tapasya is writing to us from Mumbai, who's a long-term investor. No doubt she has actually kind of addressed this query to Kunal, but I'll take this to you, Sharmila, given that it's a long-term query. She has Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank, about 400 shares at a price of 560 rupees per share, and 20 shares of Naveen Fluorine at a price of 3,100 rupees per share. She wants to know whether she should stay put with both of these counters or exit, and also if you could advise any good stock in the banking or the finance space that she can stay put with for the next 3 to 4 years.
I think coming to Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank, definitely I think you can stay put, especially if you're a longer term investor. The valuations look reasonable, and I think the stock does seem to have corrected in the near term. So yes, I think that this is not the price to sell at. So definitely stay put. Coming to other private banks that you can invest in, uh, as we know that space has gotten a little skewed. At one time, all of them sort of look good, and now we have sort of differentials arising because whatever, all that is happening. So one clear cut, I think, answer could be Axis Bank, because their numbers were good, and there don't seem to be any regulatory concerns, etc. So maybe Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, IDFC First Bank. These could be some stocks that could be considered uh, from the private banking space. Which was the other stock? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Naveen Fluorine was is the counter, and the buy price was 3,100.
Right. So, I think with chemicals, the problem has been that you now sort of need to see what exact chemical the company is in and what the pricing is happening. But I do believe that now we are entering into a phase where, given the kind of data that we are given from China, there does seem to be an improvement in a lot of chemical prices, and we are seeing that rally spread across the space. So I think for now, definitely stay put in Naveen Fluorine as well.
All right, Sharmila, once again coming to you, this query is from from Dheeraj, and he's holding Harsha Engineering. I'm not sure whether it's tracked this one or not, but one of the recent listing, not much time for the listing of this counter. He's holding 14 shares at a price of 496 rupees. Any view on this one? What to do since he's at a loss?
He can continue to hold. In terms of the numbers as well as the valuations, it looks reasonable. And if it's a new listing, give it some time. Because my personal belief is that if you have not got the share in IPO, don't buy it for at least 3 or 4 months post listing, because a lot of things settle down in the first 3 or 4 months, and the pricing that you will get after 4 months is always a better price. Having said that, I think that now that we have the shares, let's stay with them, because the numbers look decent, company looks decent, valuations also seem decent.
All right. Let me take the next query then. This one is coming from Padma and wants to know about Angel One. Is it the right price to buy Angel One right now? Kunal, what's your take on Angel One?
Yeah, I think it could be a good time where you will look to start chipping in, because the stock has come back into a bit of a corrective mode. 3 consecutive weeks of price correction prior, the stock has corrected from 3200 mark towards 2750 levels. I would believe that it's a good time to try and chip into the stock price. Whenever the reversal happens for Angel One, I think the stock should be able to scale past about 3200 to 3500 mark pretty quickly. So would suggest a buy on Angel One.
All right, moving on to the next counter, and Kunal, once again coming to you. This query is coming from Bhagya. Has invested in two counters. Firstly is Heikel from a price of 310 rupees, and she also has Delta Corp from a price of 204 rupees. What to do in both of these names, and can she go ahead and average any of these counters as well?
Yeah, I think there's a point in averaging out both of these stocks, because Delta Corp specifically, it's been through so much of negative news flow around, and that's one of the major reasons why over the last, I think, 1 year, from June or July 2023, the stock had fallen sharply, and from there it's just more than half. I think 250, 260 was the point where the stock had started to show signs of correction, and now the stock is almost at 120 mark. So I would believe that no point averaging out Delta Corp just because the stock is costly. You typically tend to buy the stocks when they enter a resurrective mode or any kind of a recovery, even if these stocks are a bit cheap, costlier from the 52-week lows for themselves. So there is no such sign for Delta Corp. I would suggest an avoid, rather not an accumulate further. And same would be the case with Heikel. Nothing major in terms of the charts which is creeping into the stock. I would probably suggest a few other alternatives in case if the viewer could be keen. I would believe the banking stocks look far more better this time around. You can look out for larger cap names like Axis Bank at current levels, IDFC First Bank, which I think even Sharmila spoke about. I think that's another name to look out for. And if you're interested in the PSU stocks, Engineers India is something which looks fairly attractive at current levels.
All right, let me take this next query. It's coming in from Shrikant, who's writing to us from Hyderabad. He has Samvardhana Motherson at 150 shares at a price of 140 rupees per share. He's been holding on to this counter for the last 2 years. Sharmila, he wants to know, once the stock hits his cost price, should he look to exit the counter or still continue to hold on to it?
So once again, a slightly difficult question, honestly, because the stock just the name in itself has had a lot of volatility over these last couple of years for various reasons, because they are export facing, etc., and they've taken measures. But what I like is that I like auto ancillaries as a space, especially because given how the EV story is sort of developing in India, I think over a period of time, when we have entrants coming in to set up EV factories, you are going to see orders shift to a lot of OEMs, and this name is a prominent name among those. So they could see better days going ahead. So having said that, I really have sort of a neutral call on the stock, and maybe you can continue to hold for now, because I'm positive on the space, but not really positive on the stock, the specific stocks that we are talking about.
All right, moving on, and Kunal, the next query is from Sunny, and he wants your views on Tata Technologies as well as ITC. Can he make a fresh entry in any of these names? And he's willing to hold these names for the next 1 year at least.
I think these are excellent times to try and buy both of these stocks. Tata Tech, of course, the history is limited for me to really project on a longer term basis. But then whatever I've seen in terms of the charts, the recent low around the 1,000 odd mark for the stock, 1,070-75 is where it's trading right now. So I believe it's a very good time to try and chip into this name because the stock seems to be finding some major support around the 1,000 levels. The question is for Tata Tech specifically that maybe the stock would take more than a couple of quarters to try and get back into that thick of momentum, unless there is any kind of a trigger or a news flow surrounding the stock immediately. ITC, I would be very bullish on the stock. I think this could be a classical zone. I think I've already sounded off, a few weeks back when the stock was at 400 levels, that these are excellent times and price levels to buy ITC back again. We've been bullish onto the stock earlier, I think around 220 odd mark in 2022. From there, the stock had gone up to 500 odd levels. And then again at 400, we've sounded another bullish sign for the stock price. So bullish on ITC. Maybe if you can, if in case there is any correction, if you can catch the stock back again closer to that 400 levels, that could be classic. If not, I think you can at least start chipping into the stock at current levels.
Kunal, the next query is coming in for you from Achar, who's writing to us in Madurai. And I think the query would be a bit of a tricky one for you because he wants some counters for swing trade for a lump sum amount of approximately 10 lakhs or so, he's saying, but for a period of 2 months. So he wants, one is that query, and the other one he wants to know when can he buy Cochin Shipyard, or should he wait for it to come down to around 760, 750 odd levels and then look at this particular stock?
Yeah, I think for Cochin Shipyard specifically, I'll start off with that. I think it's a good point that you can wait out because the stock has run up exceedingly high in the last few weeks, and I was as I was mentioning for BEL, Bar Dynamics, etc. Many of these defense and defense related names, they are going through a patch of extreme overbought nature. So I would believe that it's a good strategy to try and wait out rather than buying at current levels because I would believe that the momentum seems to be nearing a major resistance. On the other hand, if you're looking out for swing trades, few names which I would just want to reiterate. I just mentioned some of them some time back. Engineers India is something which you can look out for. Excellent chart for the stock. Now trading, I think, closer to 225 to 28 levels. You can consider for a decent swing trade of 5 to 10% swing on the upside. Metropolis is something which looks attractive, closer to the 1780, 1800 mark. That's another stock which I would believe could be good for another 5 to 7% swing at least over the near term. And then if you're looking out for something on the banking side, I think IDFC First Bank is something which looks fairly attractive. I'm not sure whether the stock would move in the next 3 to 4 weeks, but if you have a time frame of 3 months or so, I would be looking out for targets closer to 95 to 100 plus mark for IDFC First Bank.
Well, I thought it would be a tough question for you, Kunal, but looks like it was an easy one. The amount of stock names that you've given our viewers, I'm sure the other viewers also will benefit from that. But on that note, we'll slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. When we come back, continue taking your queries. Don't go anywhere.
In association with State Bank of India, the banker to every Indian.
Sturris Healthcare Private Limited deals in quality medicine. Sturris, quality that you can trust.
Indian markets are going to be getting a boost of sorts.
Hi, good morning. You're watching The Market right here on ET Now.
Indian markets are at an all-time high. You would really pinch yourself to say, is it this all factors align wonderfully well for us?
Nifty is now up a staggering 2,000 points. That impacts the market like no other. Stocks on the editor's radar. Strategy is going to be for the day.
You just start coming up on your screen. There's a lot of green on the screen today.
God, इतना पानी आ गया है पापा।
पापा जी बारिश हो रही है? वाह, छत टपक रही है।
अरे शिफ्ट करने वाले हैं ना पापा, बस घर मिलने की देर है।
तो देर ज्यादा ही नहीं होगी।
हेलो, यू घर है, इसकी शादी नहीं कि बिना एडवाइस के डिसीजन ले लिया।
इसीलिए तो घर मैजिक ब्रिक्स पे देखिए, प्रॉपर्टी की पूरी इन्फॉर्मेशन विद एक्सपर्ट एडवाइस।
और 15 लाख से ज्यादा प्रॉपर्टी ऑप्शंस हैं।
गुड।
तो एटलीस्ट मेरा घर तो लाखों में एक होगा.
Strong processes and risk management help you achieve your goals steadily and sustainably. Nippon India Mutual Fund. Wealth sets you free.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Welcome back to Buy Now Sell Now, and let's keep it going with all your stock related queries then. And the next query that I have is actually coming in from Nishi, and Sharmila, she wants to have a take, she wants a take on MRF, and her question is, at what price MRF is a good buy?
Today we are really hit by all these large price stocks and stocks I haven't looked at years. Really. No, really, you should take a technical view on this because it's very difficult to give a view on what's a good price to buy this stock because in terms of valuation, honestly, it looks okay. So, but the point is that at this price, which retail investor would want to buy unless they offer a stock split or something? Because in terms of valuations, it looks fine. So maybe Kunal would be better placed to
Sharmila,
answer.
Traditionally it's always known that April is the month when appraisals appear and you can see your salary. So maybe everyone is prepping for it already, making sure that the extra money they get, they're using it wisely and at least investing in it instead of stock. Yeah, exactly.
I want to be employed by this company. This is the kind of appraisal they're doing.
Maybe offline, I will share. We will ask him and we'll share that details with you.
We'll also try to get that name, but definitely we were just joking around. Like for MRF, people are still willing to buy, and that's indeed good to see. But Kunal, technically, where do you see the stock headed, as well as like 1,30,000 a piece MRF? What is the price point that one should look at entering?
Yeah, of course. I think it's one of the costliest names, costliest price stocks in the Indian markets. There's no two doubts about it. And I think it's a good sign that investors, viewers are still looking to buy these kind of high priced, high quality names, which have done remarkably well over the last many decades. Now, again, very difficult to try and pick a key price point. But then when I look at the last 3 months of charts, I think from 1.5 odd lakhs in terms of the stock price, the stock has corrected back towards, I think, 1,30,000 mark. It looks like that in the last 2 weeks that the selling and the pace of selling has, significantly mellowed down for MRF. So that could be a positive sign that maybe we could be at the cusp of an end of a corrective phase for the stock. I would suggest maybe keep, if you're looking to buy, say, in two parts, then you can buy the first part at current levels and then wait out for a point where, in case if there is any last phase of correction, and by that I mean say 1,20,000, that could be a trigger point where you may look to buy the remaining part for MRF. But I think it seems to be a good staggered buying level for the stock at current levels.
All right, that's the take on MRF. But Kunal, you were just highlighting that it's a good sign that people are still interested in buying such stocks. But another good sign about the Indian markets, let me highlight, because we have a viewer writing to us from Nagaland. Her name is Miyu Nukshi Longkumar. I presume that she's a female. Pardon me if I'm not correct there. And she has purchased 2 counters there. First is GMR Infra. And Sharmila, I want you to take this one. She's holding more than 600 shares at a price of 83 rupees. And the stock is on a roll today. And another stock is Jamuna Auto. Bought at a price of 137 rupees. Are these good stocks to stay put for the long term, or she should look out to exit sometime soon?
So when it GMR Infra, GMR Airports, I think is what it's called now. It's a definite yes. I think that this company has been through like a massive sort of internal work and restructuring, etc. And I think finally now things are beginning to look up for them from a fundamental perspective. Not really finally now, but I think over the last year or so, because the stock price also, let's not forget, has moved from about, I think, 30, 40 odd rupees to the current 90 odd rupees. But according to me, it still looks good. So I missed what price the investor bought at, but I think that's a definite hold uh, as far as I'm concerned. And I think again with Jamna Auto, we are again talking of auto ancillaries as a space. I did say that it's a space I like. Here, in fact, I do like the stock as well. I think that the valuations look okay, the results look okay. So here I'm fairly bullish. My targets would be closer to about 150 rupees. So given that, I think from me it's a hold on.
All right, this one is coming in from our viewer Ashish, who's writing to us from Delhi. He has Kalyani Steel purchased 1,000 shares at a price of 930 rupees per share purely for trade purpose. Kunal, what is the exit levels for Kalyani Steel, or should he stay put with the stock?
I think you can stay put, but I would not be too much optimistic because what has actually happened is that the major part of the rally happened for Kalyani Steels in second half of 2023. From 400 levels approximately, the stock went up to as much as 1,050. Now we could be at a point where the stock may get into a multi-month correction. So far, it's just been, I think, 2 months of correction or a price-wise and a time-wise correction for the stock. I would expect that at least for another 2 months, the stock could get into a phase of a further correction unless you see many of these metal stocks just going through a rip roaring breakout for themselves. So I would suggest to just hold on to the stock, maybe closer to 825, 850 mark. You can look to average out further, and hopefully once the consolidation ends, we could be looking at 1,075 to 1,150 as a target range for Kalyani Steel.
Right. This one is coming in from Nagaraju, writing to us from Hyderabad. Sharmila, he wants to know if there's any good stock in semiconductor sector as a whole that he can look to invest in right now. I'm not sure if we have a direct play when it comes to semiconductor, but any stocks that you can think of that one can look at to in fact benefit out of the boom that we are likely to see very soon in the semiconductor space in India.
Well, really, I mean, so you would be looking at what, like some IT sort of quasi IT based stock, is it?
I believe that would be the right sort of a stock right now, isn't it? A quasi IT base, or maybe something that is already partnered with some companies for it?
No name is really coming to my mind, very honestly.
All right, so let me take his other query then. He wants to know whether it's right time to enter Reliance Power, or for the matter of fact, Reliance Infra, or look at IREDA.
I would avoid. I mean, when there are so many other stocks, I would avoid.
Would you avoid all three of them at a go, or you will look at IREDA otherwise?
IREDA is fine.
IREDA is fine.
Sorry, I missed that name. That is fine. But Reliance Power and Reliance Infra, I'd definitely.
Right, moving on, and Kunal, the query is coming in from Rohit, and he wants a suggestion on any of the Tata group of stocks that you still like, where in the month of May he's looking to make a fresh investment, and he's also highlighting that can your top recommendation be Tata Motors, where we are seeing continued buying happening?
Yeah, I think Tata Motors has been my favorite over the last 2.5 odd years now. To keep that as a favorite, is very difficult task. The stock has done exceptionally well. It's almost 10x from those, 100, 10 odd mark when we first spotted the mega trend for the stock. And I, that point of time, also mentioned that the stock would probably scale past about the 4-digit mark over the due course of the next 3 to 5 years. Thankfully, that's happened for Tata Motors this time around. So continue to be bullish on the stock, but just would expect the stock to get into a patch of maybe a few months, few quarters of consolidation. So I think buy on dips could be a better approach for Tata Motors. In case if you see an odd correction, the stock coming towards say 900 mark, that could be a much better point for you to buy. Current price wise, I would believe Tata Power is another name which looks attractive. That's a stock which I believe could be heading towards a breakout. Strongly believe that the stock should scale past about the 450 and the 500 levels also pretty quickly.
All right, with that, we actually kickstart with the rapid fire. The first one coming your way, Kunal, coming in from Raju, and he's holding Star Health and Laurus Labs. Both he's suffering losses in excess of about 20% or so. Is it good to hold on and purchase some more, or look to exit and switch out and buy something else?
I would suggest to average both of these stocks.
Okay, Kunal Sridhar is a positional trader. He wants a view on Ashok Leyland holding 100 shares at a price of 178 rupees. Any exit price for him?
Continue to hold on. Short term wise, you can look out for targets of 192 for Ashok Leyland.
All right, Shubham wants who's writing to us from Jammu. He wants sort of a target for transformers and rectifiers, 76 shares at 696 rupees per share. Sharmila, any target that you can give?
No, I think it's better to take a technical target. To just answer the earlier question quickly, I sort of googled semiconductor companies and for a list Indian companies, and within that list the two stocks that I would like are BEL and Tata Elxsi.
Hope Nagaraju will benefit out of that. BEL and I beg your pardon. And sorry,
Tata Elxsi.
Tata Elxsi are the counters that you can look at. Kunal, what's your take coming in on TRIL? Any target?
I think the stock is going through a lower circuit range. I would probably expect the stock to get into a correction. Difficult to place a higher target currently.
All right, Kunal, the next query is from Shayak, holding 30 shares of KPIT from a price of 1,583 rupees. Presently at a loss, but he's a long-term investor, so should he continue to hold on, and any targets for the same?
Definitely look to hold on if possible, and in case the stock provides an opportunity of correction, say closer to 1250 mark, that could be a very good point where you can look to average.
All right, we have Alok who has 10,000 shares of SpiceJet purchased at an elevated level of about 61 rupees per share. Kunal, any scope of further upside in this counter? What sort of strategy?
I would suggest to hold on to the stock as of now, but don't be too optimistic on the very short-term prospects.
All right, and Sharmila, B. Soumya is holding shares of Central Bank from a price of 50 rupees. What's your opinion on this one, and any targets that she should look out for?
So honestly, not my favorite bank in the PSU space. I would recommend a shift to a stock like a Bank of Baroda or a PNB.
All right, with that, we come to the end of the rapid fire as well as the query segment. Thank you, Sharmila, as well as Kunal, as always, for joining us on the show. And thank you, Kunal, for the Buy Now, Sell Now Pathshala. And viewers, with that, we come to the end of this week's edition of a Buy Now, Sell Now. In case you've not taken your query this week, don't be disheartened. We'll be back next week and we will try and take as many queries as possible. For now, it's a goodbye from Shrishti, myself, our producer, Shreyansi, as well as Ruchira, and our directors, Akshay and Santosh. Thank you so much for watching.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.